Let's see. Okay, it often says you're live, but you're not actually live, Will. Have to fix the thumbnail later. Okay, I don't know. So the lately thing, I have been doing the 8 boots in 8 weeks challenge videos pretty regularly. This week we don't have that. That'll be next week. So if you're one of the 3 people or whatever who watched that one, thanks. Otherwise, you can still click on that episode number 311. And that was last Friday or whatever. Last Thursday I did that one. And then I did hats and spring wardrobe stuff again more recently this week that nobody's watched it. But we're going to carry on with boot talk because I know most of my subscribers who don't watch any of my other videos only want to see boot videos. Fine, another boot video that hopefully more of you will watch than the last one. Now, I did a long one previous to that, the spring winter and spring update was episode 304, but that was not the one about the green outfit styling with the boots. That was episode 300, the anniversary special or whatever. And like 13 people watched that one. So definitely, hopefully some of you will go back and watch those 2 videos because they didn't get hardly any views yet either. And it's not all the exact same stuff, but some of the stuff I'm going to say at the end of this one, I don't remember if it was in that one. I just don't, because it was from a couple months ago. So technically it wasn't early spring, it was late winter or whatever. And I'm going to repeat it just in case. So if you've already heard that stuff, then I guess you can skip it. And usually I do the part 1, part 2, part 3 thing. This kind of is 3 parts, I guess. So we'll call this part 1 and try and go in a sort of logical order, even though it's, I don't know if it's more than 3 parts or not. But anyway, so the most recent one I just watched, doing these in backward order. So again, mostly backward order. So again, if the stuff toward the end is the stuff you already watched, if you're one of the 3 or 6 people, then whatever, but I'm pretty sure nobody got that far. So I was watching a repair, resole kind of video, and they had gotten a hold of very similar boots to this, except a brown leather. So this is a circular logo. Theirs was a different logo, but the same subdivision of the whites, but this one has a bit more of the arch support and the taller logger heel, but basically similar lace to toe pattern. This one, the lacing doesn't, that one was a little more monkey boot. I think there was another lace out to here. Don't quote me on that. Might be the same. But basically they were taking off the resole. They were getting it it looked like they had been resoled before, and they had done some thing with the instead of this exact same, it was a similar welt, but not a full 360 Goodyear welt. So the guy was going to do a 360 to change that and replace the cork, put back the leather shank, did not replace it with a steel shank. There was some paint on it, so he had figured out how to remove that. And there was a lot of scuffing and gouging in the heel, and so he had put some, what at first looked like cream, but then I guess dries hard, and then painted it with shoe polish maybe. So I don't know if I'm going to address that in a second. I'm waiting. Maybe I'll get a reply and find out what that stuff was. And so maybe this is slightly premature, but it was not a full recraft, but some work, you know, like I said, with the inners, but not a ton, mostly the resole and the heel scuff and the paint remover. So I was kind of wondering what was going on with that rescue, you know, What exactly did they use? Don't know. Yes, I have a similar pair in black that are, you know, faded to almost gray kind of now. There's a little bit of shine from the light, but if I can hold it up closer, you can see where it's not T-coring really. It's just kind of changing color-ish, right? But these are boots that you can find used for a much lower price than a lot of the standard MTO stuff. And so I had put these plastic inserts. I showed these in the previous video about the 8 weeks challenge and the other boots, where I've taken a couple of juice containers and sawed them off and rolled them up. And made an insert to make these stand up where they're very floppy. That's not going to make the leather, you know, stiffen back up and ever go up on its own as much as you would like, but just for storage purposes, it's a little easier to maintain them and try to give them a little bit of muscle memory back. That, you know, might be a fool's errand or, you know, wishful thinking, but I'm not sure mine were in the condition as his, but they seem wearable overall. The cork's not all distorted underneath that I know of. And of course, these, I don't think these are stitched down. You know, I don't think so, because it's usually a double row when you see that, not this kind of, I think this is a storm welt. I'm not positive. And so, yeah, they do have the taller heel and a bit of the extra arch, like I said. Not as much as the other whites boots that I got, the Rose Anvil ones, where I really feel the arch. These ones are a little, like I said, they're half a size too big, but I can walk in them and the arch is not uncomfortable. Like, I don't have to break them in. They're already pretty well worn. So I don't know what a cobbler would be able to do with that to reconstitute that inner arch, because I don't think they would bother. I think they're, I don't want to say lazy, but they don't want to do extra work, and they definitely don't seem like, unless something they notice is falling apart, you know, and then they're going to recommend, hey, I need to do this. If you want it done, it's going to cost this. And then you have the opportunity to say, okay, never mind, that's too much money or whatever. But I don't think they're like, let me tear that whole boot apart and see what's wrong with it. You know, if they're just going to slap a sole on it and send you on your way, you know, unless you're asking for specific work, I don't think they're going to go out of their way to, oh, by the way, this insole is all moldy, you know. I don't know if they'll ever really notice that kind of thing. I haven't taken a lot of boots to cobblers for that much extensive work, so we'll see. When I had one guy who, he was almost that thorough, but he wasn't going to do that much work because he was going to send you to the guy up the street. But if it was something that he could do, but he didn't want to do, he would tell you why it was expensive and not cost effective. But that was mostly with Payless shoes and things like that. And he did take some work that the other guy told me, you know, oh, you should have never taken this work. This boot's falling apart. You should have thrown this away a year ago. Yeah. I've mentioned that before. And that was a totally different type of boot, though. That was these kind of sneaker boot, combat boot kind of things, not a heavy duty or budget line heavy duty ish boot. So then at the end, he puts a wedge outsole on that, which is this kind of thing instead of this kind of thing. That really hurt my brain. I'm not sure if that might be blasphemy. I know the hardcore boot guys would say so. I mean, like, at least they're the cheaper line and not MTO ones again. But again, this is what happens when some guy just finds a cheap pair of boots on eBay and buys them and says, oh, I can turn them into my regular work boots. And some guy who could actually use this kind of boot can't now get it for a lower price because this Yahoo bought it and turned it into this. Now, the reason I'm complaining, see, the lace to toe thing is supposed to give you more adjustability in here, you know, to help you when you're doing mountaineering kind of stuff or climbing kind of stuff. Whereas this boot is not made for climbing at all, ever. Most people, like, what? want this bigger toe box and don't obviously worry that much about adjustability, because this is also in a sense a glorified sneaker in that regard, because you're walking basically flat-footed in this. You're not really seeking or getting any arch support whatsoever, because you are just putting a wedge. And so yeah, I don't the extra laces are meant to provide this extra fit adjustment that you really just don't usually look for in a wedge sole boot. And if you want to know, these are the Wolverine ones, not the thorough good ones that we'll be discussing later. But I was too lazy to dig out all the boots. But yeah, they're going to use them for mostly indoor jobs, concrete and construction. Indoor, I mean, you might be outdoor, but you're not doing, again, heavy or mountaineering kind of hiking, backpacking, or logging, or all that stuff. Whereas, of course, we'll also be talking about these kind of things, which are also outdoor boots, but they're light duty outdoor boots, not work boots. And so technically, I don't know if you'd even call that a wedge sole, but it has an outsole. So then some other people had commented, EC, beautiful. I wonder if these were already resold. Yeah, that was kind of my impression when I saw the other work that had been done. I usually wear leather midsoles on whites without heel rand. They hand stitch a 270 welt with a stitch down construction. Again, I don't think the Haythorn or Hawthorne versions are stitched down. I think this is something else. Weird way. Maybe these were made different. Yeah, maybe. Again, they might have been an older model. Don't know. And so I said, yeah, I'm not sure either, because they don't have the usual heel stack that can be more common, etc. Then somebody else said, Kai, they look lovely, something to be proud of. When I feel deep scuffs, I always sprinkle some leather dust from sanding in the PVA. Makes a nice filler. So I don't know what PVA stands for, but I'm sure if I think about it long enough, I'll realize how dumb I'm being. But it's not the same as polyurethane foam or whatever. Ideally from the same leather, worth giving it a go, mate. See what you think. All the best. And then Roger says, there's many people now buying PNW boots, but they have to be way harder to resole than a Red Wing or Thorough Goodyear welted boot. It has to be a pain in the arse to work on them. Yeah, true enough. But they came out good. Hooray. Okay, so that's all good, congratulating him on resoling a pair of boots in what I would say the wrong outsole, but that's what he does for a living. So he's, like I said, he's not going to refuse the money and say, hey, are you sure? Because nope. Okay. So then in a related tangent, on to part two. Sorry, covering it with fingies. We're here in part two. We're already at part two. I'm making up a song to go with part two just because I have to scroll. Okay, the negative stuff I have heard about whites. This was me commenting on another guy's video. He did a whole bunch one day, and I think I have comments from 3 of them, as well as a sweaty forehead. The negative stuff I've heard about whites was mostly that they were more predominantly concerned with catering to their Japanese market more than USA dollars money, right? That was actually my last comment, but I stuck it here anyway just to bridge the gap between the whites and the whites, right? I'm not a lineman, so I don't need as much overbuilt boot as he is ordering. But some similar options I was wondered about, as I mentioned previously in other video comments that I may have already read on these things. I don't remember. Mostly concerning price, and how much would I wear the taller thing. Oh, because he had gotten these custom super mega big. This is, okay, for those who don't know, this is like a 10-inch, or sorry, an 8-inch 8-inch and a 10-inch. It's maybe more like a 9-inch. I usually don't get a lot of the 6-inch ones anymore. Like I said, standard combat boots kind of come in around 8-inch. This one's a little bit taller. So like I said, I think it's technically 9, but with the heel stack, it's throwing it off a little bit. Optical illusion more than thing, but okay. So, and because this heel stack is lower than this heel stack for some reason, a smidge. Yeah, you can see the nicks heel. Oh. Okay, if I turn it back the other way so you can actually see the thing, you can see the nicks is just taller. Period. And this one isn't that worn down. It's a little worn down, but it's not like super worn down. So again, I don't know if that's a corner they cut for this particular line of boots, and if you get their mega MTO whatever's that'd be more similar to this with extra leather and extra, a little bit of extra over maybe. But so this is a standard 10-inch. Standard 10-inch mega logger, although I guess most people would consider 8-inch the standard. I don't know. Depends on who you talk to. Some seem to think 10 is the most common. Others seem to think 8 is the most common. But of course, in work boots, overall 6 is the default. So we'll be talking about that again later. So I apologize to those of you who already know all about boots that I'm talking about really elementary stuff right here, but I have to, cover bases. So I'm not a lineman, so I don't need as much overall similar option. Right. So he had ordered boots that were much, much taller, and you have to do a lot more leg measurements and things. And I was tempted to get a pair like that. I do have the one snake pair that I'll like never ever wear. I don't know. I bought them on a whim a long time ago, and I just don't think they're going to be a practical hiking boot. I promised last summer that I was going to take them out hiking last summer, and then it was way too hot. I never went hiking at all, and much less wearing 13-inch mega boots. So that didn't go on. But so they're still in the box. But another thing that he gets, though, is this extra thick midsole. So I said, I'm not sure if the thick midsole is part of his equation on purpose, like if that's supposed to help him with some comfort issue or other weird foot issue he has. I don't know what that would possibly accomplish. I think the next ones look like half of that, or maybe a third, which is another thing he requests that's not in the standard menu. I don't know. Because I was saying that when I call Nick's and some other companies, I don't know if White's was as bad, but you can see that midsole kind of stuff going on here is pretty thick, but he had some chunky extra going on there. I'm not kidding, or at least that's how it looked. Yeah, I don't even know how you would order that or how you would know to order that. And they don't help me. Like, they expect me to tell them what I want them to build, like, every time. And I've done pretty well. I mean, like I said, I had to get these rebuilt because they were way too narrow last year. So it took a while to get these here. Whereas these were pretty easy peasy. I didn't think these were going to fit. I thought these were going to be too small and too narrow, and they were fine. But the toe shape made it just impossible to get into the regular D width of this, that type of thing. So trial and error, not the end of the world. They give you one rebuild. So if you're not, completely happy, it just adds time to how long it takes you to get your boot, which is another thing we're going to discuss yet again in a few comments. Okay. So like I said, I don't know how he knows what he wants and how he knows these things and why he thinks certain builders are more helpful than others, when I have had about the same experience and haven't had any super negative issues, but I haven't worn these anywhere near as much as I wanted or should have yet. Okay, so then next, same guy, different boots. So I'm staying in part 2 though for his videos. Thorogood versus Carolina Teardown. Now again, here we had a logger versus a lineman. Now I don't have any Thorogood logger boots. They don't come in my size. Spoiler alert. But I do have other Thorogood boots that are comfortable, but they are, again, the wedge sole that they're most famous for, probably. And then the Carolinas, I didn't bring them in here. I do have a different version of Carolinas, but again, these logger ones the lineman ones are $100 cheaper than the Thorogood ones. But once again, they don't come in my size either, and neither does his favorite bootmaker's alternate inexpensive option. I would have to buy custom from them to get any idea of sizing, and I don't know what rebuild they offer, like same as Nick's, probably none. And they do cost more. So that's part of the reason why I haven't ordered from them, because I don't want to end up with a pair of boots that doesn't fit, that cost way more, that I have to try and sell on eBay when I already have, I don't know, a few pairs that I wish I could get rid of that nobody seems to want because I have really small feet. According to every boot company in the world, my feet aren't that small, but because almost all of them tell me I need this size, and it turns out I need a bigger one in almost every other brand, but not in the Pacific Northwest stuff where they all run huge, apparently. Because again, I have a different pair of whites in this exact same size 7 that do fit great, and these are big and sloppy. So don't know. And I put an extra insole in it. Anyway, so one of my main focuses originally when I started this stupid channel was I was reviewing work boots, and I'm telling this to this guy, and he never replies to my comments hardly at all anymore. Or he used to once in a while, and now he's just given up, I guess. Was to see which ones could substitute in whilst somebody may be doing the actual job they've been hired for, yet waiting for their 6 to 8 month MTO lead time boots, or in last year's case, 12 months, as it ended up turning out, or whatever, or 9 months, or whatever it was. I don't remember. Yeah, 6 to 8 month lead time, and Wesco being even the worst out of all of them. And they don't even have the arch support. But I always recommend, ordering test boots when possible for the sizing, and check the sizing, or you get the quick ship if you can. A lot of times the quick ship option will still take you 2 or 3 months though. Excuse me again. But when that's available, it's a good strategy. Like I said, I got these. I didn't want the speed hooks, but I wanted to check the fit. They fit fine, so I didn't return them or anything. I was just like, okay, great boots. Now I'll order the other more custom ones that I want, Which nobody's watched that video at all. The lace to toe shrunken bison builder pros that I got 2 years ago or something. So you feel free to go back and watch that video. In fact, let me look up the chapter number of that. I don't mind wasting a minute if I can get people to actually watch the thing for a change. And I also have these other ones that you need to see. So that was episode 107. And then in a minute, we're going to be talking about episode 109 a little bit, maybe 110. Chapter 111 got 99 views, which is pretty good. That was my Thursday Boots overview. Chapter 125 was these. Chapter 131 was the other Nicks. Chapter 132, no, not 132, sorry. $142. We'll be getting to these soon, in 142 and 144. Okay. So there's a bunch of chapters for you to look up. There's others, but I'm not going to do all of them. But we're only at 25 minutes, so we haven't broken the bank yet. Okay. But there's a bunch of chapters that you can reference. So let's see. Quick ship options, etc. But I got the Elm by Carolina, which was one of my way earlier videos, and some similar insulated ones from Georgia Boots. So let's go way back down here. Those actually got, my Golden Fox Wedge, chapter 94, you might want to watch that one. That one got over 1,000 views, though. That got a decent amount. And then the original unboxing of this was chapter 91. And the unboxing of the whites, the other whites, not these, was 80, not chapter 89. But I had done a bunch of video about that. Episode 79, again, was about these. And the other ones, and there was another one, episode 77. And 71. No, not quite. Thoroughgood Wedge Sole, chapter 61. Oh, the Snake Boots, chapter 64. I'm doing more than I thought I would, but why not? Combat Boots, chapter 48. Better Combat Boots, chapter 52. Drew's Logger Boots, we can skip that. Carolina Elm, chapter 43. And chapter 39 was Georgia and Nix and Thoroughgood and all that. Okay. And then there was another Georgia one somewhere in there. I talked about them both, the Georgia and the Carolina, in the same video, episode 43. A lot of people watch episode 41, and I don't know why. That boot sucks. Don't buy that boot. Okay. Maybe there's other stuff in there I don't remember, that they're riveted. They keep coming back and watching like the worst video. I don't get it. Or the video about the worst boot anyway. Then there was the Thoroughgood Mock Toe Soft versus Steel Toe, chapter 14, where I actually accidentally bought the wrong boot. And then chapter 11 also was Wolverine and Thoroughgood head-to-head sort of comparison, but mostly an unboxing because I hadn't really worn either of them yet. That was way back when. Okay. Wow, what a recap. It's like I'm reading stuff that you could see yourself if you weren't lazy, but that's okay. I have to expect that people might be lazy too. Okay, so Carolina Elm and some similar insulated one from the Georgia, and I forget the name of those ones, but I got those in steel toe and regular toe. But only so far I have worn the wedge outsole ones from Thoroughgood, which again I didn't bring in here. So I don't have a ton of use with them for experience, other than, you know, they are nice and comfortable and such right out of the box. They don't really need a break-in period, but I don't know how long they last compared to, you know, this. Yeah, and I don't think the leather is as rigid for outdoor use as they might prefer. Like even these crumple down falling issue, you know, again, this, I've taken these out hiking and not been feeling too unsupported or anything, even though it's kind of mushy. I mean, you can kind of see maybe where it's, you know, again, been worn a lot, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, comfort versus stability, you know, where do you draw the line? Again, I didn't get these to go backpacking all the way up the Sierras or anything like that. If I was going to do that, you know, I don't know if I would consider these too heavy, but if I really wanted that extra support, I have these. So an option, right? Kind of depends. Whereas the Thoroughgoods are even more tumbled, and they come way more pliable than these come new, you know, just floppy and thin. So yeah, he buys the Thoroughgoods, and I look at the ones he buys, and he complains that they're $400 almost. But what a shock. It looks like they start at a size too big for me as well, so one less brand I have to worry about now. But it doesn't really matter because I already have logger boots, like up the wazoo. So then in a previous video, he had done a Danner teardown where he was also disappointed with Danner. No big shock. But so to recap on the previous, before I get to that, would I recommend, you know, again, the Carolinas or the Thoroughgoods that he had gotten while you're waiting for this to come? If you bought the quick ship and it's still going to be another month, but you need a boot because you've already started the job. Like I said, I agreed with his assessment that if they're your size, I would definitely probably get the Carolinas for the less money than the Thoroughgoods for the more money. Agreed. But the Carolina boots I have, as I've discussed in video 77 or whatever and all that, definitely not my ideal boot, or the grail boot, as Bootosophy likes to say. That I haven't done a grail boot video. Again, if you want to see that bison lace to toe boot, that's probably pretty close. This one would be this one would be a runner-up. This is definitely kind of my boot to end all boots, and the fact that I haven't actually worn them yet, even though I promised I was going to wear them this winter for the video channel more than necessity. Didn't get around to it. Don't know why. It got super hot super early, but I was also trying to wear the cowboy boots and some other stuff that I talked about in the video last week and in the other previous episodes. So in the Danner teardown, most of the stuff, my comment again, most of the stuff I've seen from Bates, Danner, and some others has been more of the nylon top combat boot, the modern service styles that are, more sneakers than the all leather heritage stuff, of which, again, that AdTech boot kind of looks like that, except it has the logger heel, but it also has the horrible plastic heel counter that needs to be replaced immediately. So yeah, but you can get combat boots from sneaker companies like Converse and Reebok, because I have 2 pairs of the Reeboks in there that I plan to wear as soon as I wear out 3 pairs of these, because they were all on special on Big Five or Sportsman's Guide or whatever, and they cost me $50 or $70 a pair, and I wasn't worried about boots that last a lifetime at the time. And these I wore, spoiler, I wore them yesterday instead of the other ones that I was going to wear, that I'm wearing actually right now. And they are not that comfortable on asphalt, though. That's kind of why I was using them for outdoor boots, hiking boots instead. But in a pinch, I have them. They're lightweight. They usually call themselves insulated, but they're not so insulated that they're super hot in a warmer weather. I do get a bit of a heat rash with some of them sometimes, because the real jungle boots that don't have the insulation obviously are a little bit better for hotter weather, but then you get less ankle support. So again, that trade-off. And of course, I'm not in the jungle, so it's like, I don't necessarily need the nylon to prevent the rot, but I don't necessarily need full leather all the way up my legs either when it's 100 degrees. But at least it's not, super humid here all the time. It is right now. I'm sweating, but not usually. Okay. So yeah, I wonder, like I said, I didn't take these to a guy who was necessarily as reputable as he should have been. I wonder still what a cobbler will or won't do for upgrades with this type or with other situations that makes it cost effective or not cost effective. Because again, I've probably overpaid to get things like these partly rebuilt when they should have probably just been tossed out, and that kind of thing. So, but he had the Danners, but he also had another brand that usually does nylon, but I think he had done leather, so I don't know. Like I said, I haven't looked into getting a proper pair of leather combat boots done, because I have those other cheap ones in the garage that one of these days I'm just going to try and get those modified and fixed. So I guess we'll call that part 3, even though there's technically a part 4. Yeah, okay. Part 3, we're here at part 3. Moving right along. Moving right along, you see the life and the thing. So not too bad, people. We're getting there. We're making tracks. Literally, pun intended. We're making something. We're not making a birthday cake yet, but here we are. Okay, so in the more recent Rose Anvil, now he had done a bunch of videos, and I didn't cover all of them. He had done the other one about the Nick's collaboration, and this one was more up my alley, because he had done a video a year ago in the summer, I think, about the Thunder boot already. So I felt like he was making the same video that he already made like twice. But I watched it anyway, just to leave comments to try and attract viewers. So the Thirsty boots, right? Thirsty, our favorite company, the boot videos to end all boot videos of my viewership anyway, because most of y'all don't seem to care that much about heavy duty working PNW slapjack thing that other channels get tons of views. That guy's got 200 and something subscribers already, and he's only been around for like a month and a half, and I have less than 200 subscribers, and I've been doing this for 3 years. I'm not bitter. I'm just curious why. Like, okay, I'm not, giving these companies all a free pass. I do criticize them when I think it's warranted. But I didn't start off with a more controversial opening, I guess. But so anyway, so Rose Anvil, in his more recent video, can Thursday make a PNW boot? Challenger, versus Thunder, I guess, if you want to. He didn't put versus, but Challenger Thunder, there should have been some punctuation there. But it's hard to put correct things in the titles because I struggle with that all the time. Because I figure I need to put practical menswear at least somewhere in there or nobody will ever find anything of mine. I don't know how people find my other videos. So I told him yet again, I've got 2 pairs of these, or two different types of the leather. Again, whatever episodes those were that I said 10 minutes ago. This being the less expensive one with the thinner, less pretty, more street-friendly leather. And I didn't wear these this winter. I kind of meant to and didn't get around to these either. So, whatever. It happens. But no, these are not the same boots as the Nyx boots that, that they're challenging. They do both have a kind of a tall heel. I've done a complete, rundown of all these kind of things before on whatever episode that was. I did the Thursday overview where I may have mentioned the Nyx. I don't remember. Yada, yada, yada. Let me grab the other side. Yeah, these are cumbersome because I actually do have shoe trees, not boot trees, in the Nyx ones, so they weigh twice as much as they usually do. So it's not that this boot is so heavy that I can barely lift it. It's just that I keep forgetting that there's a chunk of wood in there as well. So yeah, if you're buying the Challenger boots, like I'm not going to do, like I said, I'm not going to do a full rundown of why they are different because Rose Anvil just did that. And I imagine more people are watching his video than mine. So fine. But yeah, some won't like the high heel. A lot of people have complained about it, how it's a ski slope going down here and all this and that. I notice it a little bit, and I'm kind of used to logger boots. So the fact that I notice it is kind of like, yeah, it's there. But at the same time, the arch support is not the same amount of arch support either. Because again, I have these where I thought the arch support was going to be even worse than the Nyx, and it's not bad or whatever. And then these where this and this are kind of comparable. So not really break-in required in that respect for me, but maybe you would not like it. But I don't find them as slidey sloppy as some others, although I did end up putting the neoprene in these, though, too, also as well, that I forgot to mention in the comment, but it doesn't matter because I've done 3 videos about putting neoprene in these boots. And I did have to order the different size or whatever than to get the wider width. I think I had to go up half a size on these. It's not stamped in here. But pretty sure almost every Thursday boot I go up, and then some of them that makes them more sloppy, like the new last of the Captains that I don't like as much as the old last of the Captains. But I also don't like that it's only 6 again instead of 8 or 10, which I would prefer 10, 8 being maybe some people would consider the most useful, but more real support. This is an urban gimmick boot, not a true. But again, I didn't buy these for outdoorsy. I bought them literally to get an inexpensive version of the arch support. And so I was able to get 2 pairs of these for the price of these, and gonna in theory get more use out of these in day wear and stuff than I will out of these doing the kind of heavy duty stuff that I just don't do all that much now. PNW is MTO, not bespoke. He always says some stupid crap that's wrong. So, yep. This is not a bespoke boot. The other ones I have are not bespoke boots, but they're, customizable in the way that people use that term. Some will, companies will offer more custom options and fitting than others still, but then they tack on surcharges and things, because even this, where you want the larger eyelet up here, you can't get it unless you spend like 40 extra bucks, which is ridiculous. because it's like a hole punch, right? I mean, come on. Options and fitting, then others still, blah, blah, blah. So then somebody put Mr. Honestly, it's more like 3/4 of the boot for half the price. So you're getting a lot of what you get in a PNW boot, just without the extra redundancies that you wouldn't need if you're not stomping through mud holes on a daily basis. I got to get me a pair of these to go with my Heritage Captains. Okay, you do you. I said mostly agree. And then other people chimed in, but none of them addressed me. They addressed him, but I'm going to read it anyway. So Gilmore, I agree with the math, but if you're buying PNW boots for work instead of style, 3/4 probably isn't good enough. Again, I didn't buy these for work. Who is? I don't know. I'm sure they're out there. That's a whole other story. Then Tom says to Gil, I grew up in Washington, Olympic Peninsula, logging country. Okay, just because you grew up there doesn't mean you had that job. PNW handmade boots with spiked caulked soles. Cork boots are survival. Oh, okay, I guess if you live in the woods and don't have a home or something, maybe. In 1974, when I was a sophomore in high school, my stepdad quit logging and gave me his old whites knee-high cork boots. Why? I don't know. I had them resold with Vibram Montagna deep lugged soles, and I outgrew them in a year. I traded them for right. So thanks, Tom, for the input and your recreational usage hobby. But then he puts why he just said they were for survival, but 7 hours later or something, he puts, you're not logging. You don't need caulk-soled boots with the stacked woodman heels and a steel shank. You aren't wearing them for survival every day. And the PNW custom boots take months of daily wear to be broken in and comfortable. I don't know if that was somebody else yelling at Tom or Tom yelling at Mr. But I thought this was, it says Tom. I don't know. I can try and look it up again and see if I'm reading that wrong. I have to scroll back pretty far, though, to find. It shouldn't be too far. Oh, then there's another one of cowboy boots that I completely forgot about, didn't I? I'll put that in part 4. I'm sorry, people. I messed up. But I know this stuff wasn't in the last video already, so we'll bump it up. And still trying to find that other. Oh, wrong video entirely. Okay. That's funny. The cowboy guy, the cowboy boot guy had talked about everybody needs a pair of black boots. And I've recently got a pair. I did a video about the Cody James boots just the other week, which is episode. Give me 1 second. Did I say, what did I say? Dan Post, sorry. Dan Post 309, episode 309. Okay, so I already did a video about that. I'm not going to talk about that, because I literally just did a video about that. But there's another boot, cowboy boot video. Not that one. Although some of that will be redundant too. Okay, so anyway, where's Rosanville? Sorry for the delay. Here we go. Yeah, Tom. What? This is, yeah, I don't know who he was yelling at, but like I said, I'm pretty sure it was Mr. So Tom yeah, like I said, I don't know, he kind of contradicts himself. One minute he needs these boots to live, and the next minute he's trading them for herb. And then the next minute he's screaming at the guy that he doesn't need them. Well, how do you know what he needs? Again, if he's buying the Thursday Challenger boots or the Thunder boots, he's probably not in heavy duty logging occupation. I wouldn't worry about. So then Chuck says to Gil, good enough is never good enough, whatever that means. And Mr. finally comes back at Gil and says, why not both? I guess meaning both brands, Knicks and Thirsty, as opposed to both Challenger and Thunder. I guess if you really like the Challenger, you might like the Thunder. So you could buy both of those too. I don't, no. I haven't bought the Thunder because they came out too soon after they came out with the Challenger. And since I had just bought 2 pairs of these that I haven't even hardly worn yet, I certainly wasn't on the market for yet another Thursday boot that was not that much different than the 2 I just got. Although they, I guess, look a little bit different. Okay, so interjection, part 4, trying to cover over the 3 without part 4. And so part 4 is technically 2 parts that aren't related at all, but the one, this just happened 3 days ago. So when I said I was going in backwards order, I'm not totally in backwards order, but we're close enough. The cowboy boots. So yeah, I said square. The guy said he liked square toe boots because they're versatile or something, but square toe boots to me are just a lazy trend and less attractive than the more almond toe shapes. Companies want to offer less sizing. Width options is all that is, according to Jeremiah Craig or whatever his name is. And I believe he's onto something. The best part is the decorative. Oh, I see it. For some reason, this has copied twice, and I'm reading them out of order. That's okay. The best part is often the decorative shaft stitching. So let's look at cowboy boots. Why I brought them in. Now, this is not the type of boots that he was talking about, and this is not an exact square toe. These are the Ariat Rough Riders or Rough somethings. Once again, let me scroll back to last summer. Rough Stock 234, episode 234. So yes, the decorative stitching, most people wear their jeans over that. Now, traditionally, you didn't. You tucked your pants into that because the boots would protect your pants, because your pants were soft material and boots are thick leather and probably even thicker in those days in many cases. So yeah, everybody covers them over with cheap pants nowadays because yeah, you throw away your Levi's every few months and get new ones, right? Pretty sure these are meant to protect pants in such an antiquity since the leather would last longer than the fabric, especially in tough conditions, etc. Longer jeans is the more contempo Western look with the stacking and stacking and such. I didn't speak. Then he was talking about how to make cowboy boots work with regular clothes. And then the first thing they talk about is jeans and Western style shirts. So I had to do a double backflip. Western shirts are normal clothes now. I mean, I guess I can save my usual comments about jeans don't really belong in more proper, smart casual outfits, but really. So sorry, I have to go. I find myself having to go back and do lots of stuff. Why is, for some reason, YouTube does not want to show me all of my comments until I really have to fight with it. Okay. Fine. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, cowboy boots, black cowboy boots, covered that just like a week and a half ago or whatever. So then the other guy, we're still in part 4, part B, section B, okay, instead of A. This is the part where it might be the stuff that was in the last video already. So if you've made it this long and we're almost at an hour and you're already bored, I can't promise that you didn't already hear this before. Maybe you did, but this shouldn't take too long. Let me just wrap it up. Okay. I don't mind all eyes. He got some boots and they were all eyes instead of speed hooks. For those who don't know the difference between speed hooks and eyelets. Okay. 7-inch, which this is again somewhere close to a 6, maybe a bit of 7, is not so high that it can be too much extra time for lacing them up if you don't have speed hooks. I thought Baker Boot Store would be more able to do more fit guidance over the phone, but not so much. It's more of a process when you have to send in fit sheets that he wants you to fax or whatever. Like, I don't know who has a fax machine anymore. I've had the zip boots where the zipper failed on the hiking trail, so not a safe bet for me, but the ones he was showing were more of a town edition, so we'll see how it goes, if they last for what he's using for when he ever does an update. Again, not the same kind of boots, not the same kind of use case. He was showing a whole bunch of different things or whatever, just kind of rating them. Mentioned already that before that the Goki brand did not come in my size, and that, made me jealous, I guess. But I got similar to theirs from Oak Street instead, which are slightly different than these LL Bean ones. I talked about that before. And the Oak Street, see if I can find it. The other LL Bean ones I got that are different. This is episode 257, in case you want to know about that. The kangaroo ones, then I did an update review 260, but neither of those is these. Then I had done Nick's Handmade versus White's boot, the buy guide tips, which is different than the fit episode, but 259. Might want to check out episode 259. That is like 200 views almost, which is nothing compared to how many of you should be watching that probably. This was, that was where I put the wrong picture for a joke. Unboxing. Oh, I gotta fix that. It's fun when I notice things that I didn't notice. Where are the Oak Street? They should be more recent than this, I think. No, Dan Post. Was that after that? Oh, maybe. Thursday overview, Wolverine DuraShock. Sorry. Yeah, I gotta go back farther. Silverado. Those are the ones I actually do kind of. Oh, here it is. White sizing boots. 171. Episode 171. And then I did a work boot ranked cost per wear attempt 177. Definitely more people should check that one out. As best as I could do. That one got 175 whopping views. Whereas my Silverado one got over 1,000 views. My White's boot fit guide only got 105 views. And some of those views might have been me going back and rewatching part of it. So maybe less than 100 views, and definitely nobody watched it all the way through unless they were really, really, really interested. Then the PNW Arch Support Conversation 192. Yes, that was in there. Where are these Oak Street boots now? I could have swore I got those after those other ones. Grantstone. Yeah, it's after that. Because I got them on that sale, Columbus Day sale or whatever it was. Here it is, 275. Okay, so sorry for the delay again, but like I said, I think many of these videos are relevant, that people should be checking it out. Okay, Goki didn't come in my size. Oak Street did not fit exactly perfect, and I had to get the wide width because they were sold out of the regular width. but I think the wide width was the better choice overall if I just find the right insole. But it also has the wrong outsole because, again, like the guy doing the boots today, for some reason they have a Vibram wedge sole that I would never wear hiking in California ever. Overall, I found the Oak Street to run small like so many other brands. Grant Stone runs narrow a bit too, as well as, like I said, Thursday. So those kudu ones I've been wearing a bit are kind of sloppy and wide also, but the leather is supposed to conform more someday. We'll see. I don't know how it's going to conform and get which ones are supposed to conform and get better fit. The Oak Street ones, maybe. The Bean says that about these, and I don't think that'll ever happen either. We'll see. I'm neglecting a lot of my PNW stuff because Pacific Northwest, because mostly having a warm winter so far already, which I already said. I can't do pull-on boots much. I've been wearing the ARE Roper and the other cowboy style, the one I always forget the name of, this one, a bit, and also the Thursday Maverick ones, which is episode, don't even ask me. There's 2 different colors. That episode something. Scrolling once again instead of finishing my train of thought. Oh, and I also did a Western Cowboy Boots overview, though, 231. You might want to check that one out and before you worry about the Maverick one. But here nor there, Challenger, Maverick, Brandy 132. And was that the first one or the second one? I don't remember. Anyway, you'll find it because I'm not going to worry about it. But mostly that's the reason I shifted to buying more of the Packer lace boots, that intent, which again are similar to the Builder Pros. They just don't have, you're not going to get a lace to toe option with a Packer boot. And the toe might not look as cowboy style as you really want, as I showed in those videos. The one boot was a little too round, and the other boot, they narrowed it, but they didn't narrow it in like a really comfortable way, like a more traditional cowboy boot, like the Maverick boots. I got those similar Bean Mocks for $80, but they're also a sloppy fit, but leather sides instead of canvas. Not sure how cotton canvas does versus nylon, like Jungle Military. Boots for water repellency, etc. So just some open-ended questions there that people don't answer. If I ever get answers, maybe I'll do another video. And that's part 4 in a nutshell. Like I said, okay, we're just under an hour. So as always, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I like to try and be helpful and get to the bottom of some of these mysteries. And again, I wish I could provide better information, but these other people who make their videos don't often do any update videos. If they do an update, if they do an update video, it's usually like because they got the heel cap resold or something. It's nothing super useful. And then you never see their videos again. They go off. So I don't know if the boot exploded and died or if it's still perfectly functioning and looks exactly as it did, 8 months ago or whatever. No idea. Maybe they don't work in that job anymore and they don't even wear those boots. Couldn't tell you why the one guy gets these mega boots built when, again, I don't know what a gigantic midsole has to do with any kind of job. Don't know. Can't tell you. But that's what I know. And as I've been pushing lately, and it's getting to the end here, boycott Tinder. I'm not joking. Boycott that app. They hire toxic employees. That's a whole nother video I'll probably do next week, even though I did 2 already that nobody's watched. I got more than enough interesting stuff to do another video, but I chose to do this boot stuff instead. But I hope that message does not get lost and people don't ignore that important topic. If you are single and actually looking for a real relationship, that is just a tacky, shallow hookup site that just wants your money, as far as I can tell. And some aspects of it might be consumer fraud. I'm not a lawyer. Again, if somebody can bring a class action suit, that might help. I'm not that guy, but if you are interested in that website for whatever reason, please contact them. Please tell them, or ask them these kind of questions. And, like I said, if you need ammunition, go back and watch those videos and draw your own conclusions. Okay, 1 hour, signing off.